Hello, I am Professor Michael Power from the University of Edinburgh in Scotland. I also have worked for the World Health Organization for many years on the measurement of quality of life and well-being. I am delighted to be here today to tell you about a new survey that has been designed by Vision International People Group in collaboration with the World Health Organization. I am delighted and honoured to be able to tell you about our new survey, and I'm particularly grateful to company president, Mr. Dmitry Buryak, who has funded this research over many years and who has continued to fund this important social policy related research. We are very grateful to him for his involvement in active and healthy aging and a good quality of life for everybody. In 2010, an agreement was signed between the World Health Organization and Vision International People Group to carry out this new survey, which is called the Cross-Cultural Quality of Life, Health and Nutrition Survey. And I will briefly outline to you today some of the different measurements that will be included in this very important survey, for which we would like you very much to participate. The objective of the survey is to monitor and assess the actual nutritional status, the functional health and well-being and quality of life of the population of yourselves from various countries who are involved in Vision International People Group. The aim is to develop a wide range of resources for you, the individual, to manage and monitor your quality of life and well-being over the coming time. This international survey will cover the three following topics, which I will then briefly outline to you. First of all, the survey will measure your actual nutritional status. This is the module that will be included in information about you. Secondly, the questionnaire will assess functioning and health, the ICF-based health and functioning questionnaire, which has been developed by Vision International People Group. And finally, it will measure your quality of life with the HUQOL-BREF. And I will briefly present to you details about each of these different measures. First of all, there will be a module that will measure your actual nutrition assessment. Now, the first slide you will see shows you a typical person's daily or weekly intake of food. And you'll see that the food is categorized into three different types. Green foods are good. They are green for go. Red foods are bad. They are bad for stop. And in between, we have the amber foods that are reasonably good for you. But you will see that the typical person probably eats far more than the recommended amount of confectionery, fats and sugar than recommended by the World Health Organization. And you will be able to monitor your level of actual nutritional input by comparison to the WHO, the World Health Organization, input. You will see when you look at the World Health Organization slide that the proportion of confectionery, fats and sugars, the red foods for stop, should be extremely low within your diet, within a healthy diet. But as I say, for many people, we are all guilty of this. We eat too many foods within the red category. Now, one of the important points I want to make about Vision International People Group is that the food supplements that have been produced are very useful, whether or not you're eating a healthy diet or you have something more like the unhealthy diet. There are many categories of people, all of us in fact, who would particularly benefit from supplements. For example, people who are getting older in life and maybe the body makes less use of the foods and the vitamins and supplements that we eat. Perhaps if you are pregnant, in pregnancy, you need extra vitamins and minerals. And even for, as I say, with a healthy input to boost your immune functioning and many aspects of health, it is always good to have a number of different food supplements that can be tailored to you and to your own particular situation. So, let me tell you now about the second part of the modules that will be involved in the survey. And this is examining your health and functioning. To do this, we will be using the newly developed ICF questionnaire that has been developed by Vision International People Group in collaboration with the World Health Organization and the Institute of Nutrition here in Moscow. The first slide of these gives you a particular example of, let's say, a Russian respondent scoring at certain levels for their body functions overall and for their level of activities and participation. If we then look to the next slide, you will see how this compares with the population for Russia as a whole. This is the representative norms that were identified in 2005 in the Vision International funded People Group survey. So we now have these Russian norms, which are extremely useful and that will be part of the feedback to you within the survey, that which you will be able to compare your own individual values against the norms, for example, for body functions and for activities and participation from the ICF questionnaire. The next slide now shows you actual breakdown of the body functions. You'll see that there are 5 different areas in which the ICF measure assesses body functions. I'll just give you a brief summary of these. First of all, mental and sensory functions. Then functions of the cardiovascular system. Thirdly, functions of the digestive and metabolic system. Then we have genitourinary functions. And finally, the functions of the skin and the neuromusculature. Again, the slide shows you a particular person's responses across these 5 different measures. And again, we can compare them in the next slide to the average from the Russian norms for that particular group measured in 2005. As I say, these are important, and for the first time we have normative values for Russian scores. And this shows you how your own particular results compare with and are above or below the Russian norms. The next slide shows you another part of the ICF questionnaire, which is looking at, in relation to health and functioning, environmental factors that impact on our health and functioning. First of all, there are individual factors, and then there are societal factors, such as policies on welfare, on health, on economics. Again, in the slide, you'll see that there is somebody who has a particular level of these factors, and these, as you see on the next slide, compare to the Russian normative values. Perhaps a bit better on the societal, but a bit worse on the individual environmental factors. But as I say, the survey will allow you to compare your own personal scores against these Russian norms. And so on. Now, the second part of the survey that I want to tell you about is that we want you not to participate just once, but to participate over time, at least at 1 monthly or so intervals, so that we can track changes in your health, functioning, and quality of life across time. In the slide, you will see we've given you an example of measurement at 4 different time points for body function and activities and participation. Now, we think that perhaps the ideal time between measurements would be 1 month, but perhaps 2 months. Sometimes there may be a little fluctuation in that, but we want you to commit to the survey so that you can look at the impact of any lifestyle changes on your body functioning and health, and also we can monitor the use of the supplements across time as you use the supplements to improve your health and functioning. The ICF measure will be able to give us quantitative information, actual information about how your body functioning and your activities and participation are improving across time. This is a measure of change over time. Again, you will see on the next slide that the body functions will be measured in the 5 different areas that we mentioned before. The mental and sensory functions, functions of the cardiovascular system, the digestive system, the genitourinary system, and the skin and musculature. So you'll be able to measure within each of these across time how your functions are changing and hopefully improving with the use of the supplements. Again, you will be able to do the same, as you'll see on the next slide, with how your individual environmental factors change with time and how societal environmental factors, perhaps change in economic policies, change in financial situations and so on, which can impact on us all, as we know very well. Let me tell you about the next part of the survey, which is about the measurement of quality of life. I'm particularly keen on this aspect of the survey because I have worked with the World Health Organization now since the early 1990s on the development of our measure, the HUQOL and the HUQOL-BREF, that will be used in the survey. In the 1990s, we worked for many years collecting data in 15 different countries worldwide in order to put together a measure that had validity, reliability, and sensitivity. And in order to produce a high-quality measure, it takes many, many years, and it was at least 8 years before we published our particular instrument, the HUQOL. So I just want to say that I'm delighted to be involved, therefore, with Vision International People Group, who have now collected norms for the Russian population using the HUQOL-BREF. And I just want to say that I'm delighted that they also are taking such a quality approach to the development of their own ICF measure, because, as I say, it takes many years to develop a measure that has good reliability, validity, and sensitivity. And so I'm delighted that they have done such a quality instrument in this way. Now, again, turning to the slide, you will see that there are 4 different areas of measurement for quality of life: physical health, psychological health, social relations, and the environmental factors. And what we've done here is just taken a particular respondents from the Russian household survey, and again you can take a comparison between the individual and the Russian norms that have been collected by Vision International People Group in their survey. And you can see in this particular example that the norms show the person scoring a bit lower in terms of physical, psychological, social relationships and environmental factors, as an example. And you will be able to do this if you participate, when you participate in the survey, in order to see your own level of quality of life. Now, just as with the ICF measure, by participating, you will be able to measure change in your quality of life over time. And this is really a crucial part of the survey, not just to participate once, but to be able to monitor, at least at monthly intervals or approximately, how your quality of life, just as your physical functioning, whatever, is changing with time, particularly if you are using particular supplements that impact on things like your physical health, your psychological health, your relationships, and the environmental factors. Now, just to show you a little bit more detail about what the measurement actually looks at, you will see that the 4 different areas: physical health and well-being, psychological health and well-being, social relations, and environmental factors, are 4 different domains measured within the HUQOL-BREF questionnaire, and they all add together to give you a total quality of life. So this is one of the things that we will be able to provide you with, is not just how well you are doing in each of the domains, but an overall measure of quality of life as well, which again you will be able to compare with the norms from your particular country, just as we have compared with the norms for the Russian population in the examples so far. The next slide shows you the ICF measure that has been developed by Vision International People Group. The original form was a 60 questionnaire version of the measure, which mapped onto the ICF categories. But I've been very fortunate to work over the past year or so with my colleagues here in Vision International People Group to produce a shorter 30-item version of the measure. This is an extremely elegant version, and because it's shorter, you'll take up less of your time in order to complete it. So we have created this elegant version for you in order to speed up the time which you will need to complete the particular questionnaire. What it does, however, is expand the range of parameters that we measured in the HUQOL-BREF. If you like, it adds an objective assessment of quality of life and functioning, in addition to the subjective aspect of quality of life. And life is a trade-off between the subjective and the objective. Life is best when both are improving, rather than just one or the other. But we will be able to measure that within the survey. Now, just to tell you the details about the ICF measure, you'll see on the next slide an account that I will just outline to you about the ICF-based health and functioning measure. The questionnaire is designed to assess health and functioning. As I've said, it was developed by Vision International People Group in collaboration with the World Health Organization and the Research Institute of the Institute of Nutrition of the Russian Academy of Medical Science, and based on the World Health Organization publication, the International Classification of Functioning, Disability and Health, known as the ICF. The questionnaire, as I say, was developed to expand the range of parameters assessed in the original HUQOL quality of life measure. And it's been shown to have extremely good psychometric properties now, particularly for validity, reliability, and sensitivity to change. And these make the measure ideal for use in a survey which will measure how your body functions, how your quality of life changes across time. Now, in the final part of the talk, I just want to tell you very briefly about some results from the Russian Longitudinal Monitoring Survey of 4,500 representative households, approximately 10,000 people or respondents, that again was carried out in 2005 as a joint venture between Vision International People Group, the World Health Organization, and the Institute of Nutrition. And what we'll show you in a series of slides is 7 different regions of Russia, and it'll highlight the region of Russia that seems to have the best quality of life or the best physical health and functioning and so on. Now, if you look at the first slide, you'll see that for the HUQOL-BREF measure of quality of life, for physical health, that the Ural Federal District seems to have the highest level for physical health and well-being. You'll see a similar story for the measurement of psychological health and well-being, for which the Ural Federal District also comes top of the 7 different regions in Russia. And perhaps it's no surprise if you turn to the third area of quality of life, that of social relations, that the Ural Federal District also scores highest here. It must be a tremendous region of Russia, and I look forward one day to visiting, given its high quality of life. The fourth area measured in the HUQOL-BREF is that of the environment, the personal environment in which the person lives. Here, however, you'll see that the Southern Federal District of Russia scores best, perhaps reflecting its milder, warmer climate, the proximity to the sea, and so on. I'm sure you will understand from your holidays why Southern Federal District scores well for the environment. Now, the next set of maps that we show you look at the ICF measure of health and functioning. The first is a survey and summary of body functions. Again, this is from the Household Normative Population Survey in 2005. Inconsistent with the HUQOL-BREF, you will see that the Ural Federal District again scores best in terms of body functioning, and this reflects the overlap with the subjective measure of quality of life. If you look at mental and sensory functions, then yes, the Ural Federal District comes top again, but now the Volga Federal District also does equally well. So good news if you are from the Volga Federal District for your mental and sensory functioning. If you look now at cardiovascular functioning, again, the Ural Federal District scores the best, the highest. In terms of digestive, metabolic, and endocrine systems, you'll see, yes, the Ural Federal District scores highest, but so does the Volga Federal District again. It does well as the Ural Federal District. The next slide shows you the genitourinary and reproductive functions. Again, we see Ural Federal District coming top of the 7 different regions for Russia. So you're probably not surprised. On the next slide, you see that here we see that for skin and neuromuscular functioning, again, the Ural Federal District does best. The ICF, as you will see on the next slide, also measures the activities and participation that people engage in. And again, this is reflected in the highest scores being found for the Ural Federal District. The next slide now shows you the individual environmental factors as measured by the ICF measure. And here, again, consistent with the HUQOL-BREF measure of the environment, you'll see that the Southern Federal District now scores better, does best of the 7 different regions of Russia. And this is also true if you look on the next slide for societal environmental factors. Again, the Southern Federal District does best. So well done, Southern Federal District. But we hope that those maps give you a flavour from the 2005 survey of what the new survey will be able to do. And we really think this is a tremendous opportunity for you to be involved in this new survey. As I say, the survey is a collaboration between Vision International People Group, the World Health Organization, and the Institute of Nutrition. We are, of course, delighted for the support of Vision International People Group and its president, Mr. Dmitry Buryak, for his support throughout, but particularly for this new survey, which we now beg you to participate in, because it will give you so much information personally, as well as us who are looking at the national situation as well as the international situation. We will be able to compare your own values against the normative values, but we'll also be able to compare against different countries. And we will be able to be comparing how things change across time as events happen, as you participate and you use particular supplements from VIPG. As I say, the measures will give you a view of your objective change in health status alongside your subjective well-being, how you feel about those changes. The website is now named, as you'll see here on the slide, visionsurvey.net. We expect that the website will go live sometime early in 2012. Everybody's working very hard to get it up and running for that date. But let me emphasize how important it is that you participate in the survey, that both from a personal point of view and a national point of view, the data that you give will be invaluable. This is a very serious survey carried out in line with the company policies of social participation as emphasized by Vision International People Group. Finally, I just want to thank its president, Mr. Dmitry Buryak, for his participation in and his funding of these important surveys over many years, and the coming survey that we are about to participate in. However, I also want to mention two delightful colleagues that I work with and have met within Vision International People Group. These are the unsung heroes of all of this work, Dr. Svetlana Akolzina and Ms. Olga Kishko, who are delightful colleagues to work with, and I want to thank them so much for their participation in all of these surveys and for our upcoming collaboration. Thank you very much.